Hello my fellow MCs, Primo here. Our Ice Queen JingLiu is finally here, and the bar just keeps getting set higher and higher with each new release of a destruction DPS. If you are lacking an ice elemental damage dealer, then look no further than JingLiu. Today we are going over her kit, best Lightcones, traces, relics, and team comps. So let's sit back, grind some Stellar Jade, and let's talk about it. JingLiu hails from the Lao Fu as a former sword champion, aligning herself with the path of destruction and possessing the ice element. Her overall kit is centralized on her talent, which deals with gaining stacks of Syzygy through the use of her skill and ultimate. Her talent allows her to enter a spectral transmigration state after accumulating 2 stacks of Syzygy. Once she enters this state, her action is advanced forward by 100% and her crit rate increases massively. Her attacking options are reduced to only using her enhanced skill, Moon on Glacial River, which deals ice damage to a single and adjacent enemies based on her percentage of her attack stat. The targeted enemy will take a larger percentage of damage than that of the adjacent enemies. Using this skill will consume 1 stack of Syzygy and will not consume a skill point, similar to Blade's enhanced basic attack. When JingLiu is attacking this special state, she will consume a percentage of her allies' max HP to be able to increase her own attack stat. This boost is based on a percentage of the total HP consumed from all allies, but it is capped based on a percentage of her basic attack stat. Syzygy can stack up to 3 times, and when those stacks go down to 0, she will exit this special state. Her general basic attack deals single target ice damage that scales off her attack stat. Her non-enhanced skill, Transcendent Flash, is also a single target attack that has much higher scaling than her basic attack while also giving JingLiu 1 stack of Syzygy. Her ultimate attack deals AoE ice damage to multiple enemies and will also give JingLiu 1 stack of Syzygy. Her technique, Shine of Truth, will create a dimension or field around JingLiu that will last for 20 seconds. When enemies are within this dimension, they will become frozen. If you enter combat with the enemy that is frozen in the dimension, it will regenerate 15 energy for JingLiu and obtain 1 stack of Syzygy while also freezing her enemy targets for 1 turn. If an enemy is frozen because of her technique, JingLiu will deal additional damage based on a percentage of her attack at the start of every turn. JingLiu's best in slot Lightcone will be her own. I shall be my own sword, which grants the wearer a crit damage as well as a stackable damage percent increase. The stackable damage percent increase, named Eclipse, can be triggered when the ally, not the holder, gets attacked or loses HP. Each stack will increase the damage of the wearer's next attack and can be stacked up to 3 times. Once 3 stacks are reached, a secondary attack will be triggered that ignores a percentage of the enemy's defenses. After the attack is delivered, the stacks will reset. As we get more destruction characters to be released, there will be more 5-star options we can use at our disposal. Some 5-star options I would recommend for JingLiu are the Unreachable Side and Something Irreplaceable. I would not recommend Honkai signature Lightcone, Brighter Than the Sun, because the stackable effect can only be triggered by basic attacks, which do not synergize with JingLiu and her need to use her skill. The Unreachable Side is Blade's signature Lightcone that increases the user's crit rate and max HP. The only fallback for this Lightcone is the damage percent increase, which requires the holder to be attacked or consume their own HP, which doesn't work as well for JingLiu because she consumes her allies' HP and not her own. Still, it is a very nice stat stick for crit rate and max HP, although I believe you can find better value with some of the other Lightcone recommendations, and just go ahead and keep this one for Blade. Something Irreplaceable, Clara's signature Lightcone, is decent if you are lucky enough to pull this for your account. This gives the holder an attack percent boost, which has great synergy with JingLiu's kit scalings, as well as a damage percent increase when the holder is hit or defeats an enemy. The Lightcone will also heal the user based on a percentage of the wearer's attack if they were to get hit or defeat an enemy. Some 4-star and F2P options I would recommend are On the Fall of the Aeon, Under the Blue Sky, The Mole's Welcome You, and A Secret Vow. My personal recommendation for JingLiu that gives the most value is On the Fall of the Aeon. A 5-star F2P option that can be obtained from her to shop, this Lightcone gives a stackable attack percent boost up to 4 times when the wearer attacks. On top of that, if the holder applies a weakness break on the enemy, you can obtain a damage percent increase for 2 turns. This Lightcone is one of my personal favorites for JingLiu because of the attack percent scalings, which work well with her overall kit, similar to Something Irreplaceable. Another reason I would recommend this Lightcone is because it can be easily superimposed with the superimposers in her to shop, giving you the potential to have an S5 5-star Lightcone. Some under the radar options like Under the Blue Sky, The Mole's Welcome You, and A Secret Vow can all be very nice options for JingLiu. All 3 are gacha Lightcones, so they can only be obtained through warping, but if you have these on your account, they are definitely usable. The Mole's Welcome You gives the holder a stackable attack percent increase up to 3 times that can be triggered when the holder attacks using their basic attack, skill, or ultimate. Under the Blue Sky gives the holder a non-stackable attack percent increase as well as a crit rate increase when defeating an enemy. The crit rate increase will last for 3 turns. Many are familiar with the Secret Vow and how good it can be with its initial damage percent increase that can be doubled if the enemy's HP is the same or higher when the holder unleashes an attack. Overall, JingLiu has a decent amount of usable Lightcones because of her kit scaling on attack. Now, if she were released a couple patches before, I probably wouldn't be saying this, but F2P, Dolphin, and Whales can all have suitable options for the Ice Queen herself. JingLiu's trace priorities should be as follows. Skill would be first, talent would be second, ultimate would be third, and her basic attack would be last. Her skill would be top priority as this is her main source of damage output through the use of her enhanced skill, Moon on Glacial River. Her talent would be next as this will help give her kit a huge crit rate and attack stat increase, thus upgrading her overall damage output. Her ultimate is third as it is her secondary source of damage output that, although not on the same level as her skill trace, is definitely more important than her basic attack. And finally, her basic attack can be leveled, but it isn't recommended. Her kit is very skill centralized, leaving her basic attacks to only be used to regenerate skill points when needed. And since her basic attacks do not give JingLiu stacks of Syzygy, it makes its case even more appealing as the lowest priority trace upgrade. Many of her extra traces are focused on speed and crit damage, which are amazing stats to be able to increase as a DPS character. Especially with the boost in speed, this will help you focus on damage enhancing substats for your relics. Some Ascension bonus traces I wanted to point out that should be immediately upgraded as soon as possible are her Ascension 4 and Ascension 6 traces, Sword Champion and Frost Wraith. The Sword Champion trace upgrades her non-enhanced skill by advancing forward her next action by 10% after use of said skill. Now, why is this important? Since JingLiu needs at least 2 stacks to enter into the Spectral Transmigration state, the bonus trace will help her achieve that much quicker. Her Ascension 6 trace, Frost Wraith, is a very nice damage dealing increase for her ultimate, which is 20% when JingLiu is in the special state. There is nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to this trace, it's just a very solid DPS increase. For JingLiu, the obvious choice for best relic set would be the 4-piece Hunter set, as it will give you a 10% ice damage increase as well as a crit damage increase of 25% after the wearer uses her ultimate. This will last for 2 turns. If you're struggling for decent substats on the 4-piece set, however, there is nothing wrong with going for the 2-piece Hunter, 2-piece Musketeer, or 2-piece MTH set. If you have good enough substats, you can easily make up the 25% crit damage boost that the Hunter's 4-piece set bonus gives you. Now for substats, we will be wanting your typical DPS stats in attack percent, speed, crit rate, and crit damage. For main stats, the boot is pretty standard as you will need speed, but the main dilemma here is the body piece. Since her bonus traces give you a crit damage boost, your immediate thought is to go to crit rate as the body piece. Now that would be fine for your typical DPS, however, we need to break it down further. If the crit rate body piece, assuming it is a 5-star relic at plus 15, gives you 32.4% crit rate, and then you include the 50% crit rate increase at plus 10 for her talent, plus that 8% for the repellent arena, you are looking at a total crit rate of 90.4%. Now that is a hefty sum, but there is a thing called diminishing return, and typically you'll want your DPS characters to have something along the lines of 70 to 80% crit rate. Now the other options you can have are to use a crit damage or an attack percent body piece with double crit rate substats, but you'll need to obtain at least 5 crit rate rolls at that point to be able to reach the ideal threshold for the repellent arena planar ornament set. You also have to weigh in your Lightcone being used, your supports and what sets they may use, etc. All of these things being considered, I would recommend a crit rate body piece for a meta build and a crit damage body piece for a sanity build. With her uptime for her talent only being 2 turns, you need to be able to capitalize on that short window and crit as many times as you can. That is why for meta reasons, you want to be pushing as close as you can to that 100% crit rate. But for sanity reasons and the grind of relic hunting, I am recommending crit damage. Like I said, 70 to 80% crit rate is more than enough for a DPS character to consistently crit and is much easier to obtain, especially with her talent at level 10. For the planar ornaments, the Space Sealing Station set would be my personal first choice as it will give you a 24% attack boost when JingLiu's speed reaches 120 or higher. It is also much easier to achieve the 2-piece set bonus over say the repellent arena, especially if you're using a crit damage or attack percent body piece and you are praying for some crit rate rolls. The other planar set recently mentioned, the Repellent Arena, would be her ideal best in slot as this will increase her crit rate by 8% as well as increasing the damage of her skill by 15%. Since the majority of her damage stems from her enhanced skill, it makes sense to run this set on her. For the main stats, we would like to see ice damage bonus for the planar ornament and either attack percent or ERR for the link rope. Now the question here is, why would we use an ERR rope for JingLiu? If you are using the 4-piece hunter set, I would recommend ERR rope to be able to capitalize on the 4-piece set bonus more often. However, if you are running a 2-piece combo, I would say that you should prioritize an attack percent link rope, as you are not depending on your ultimate to obtain greater damage output through enhanced stats. For team compositions, we're going to go over 3 comps, ranging from ideal to F2P, giving viewers a variety of units they can plug and play for optimal JingLiu usage. The ideal team I wanted to talk about consists of Blade, JingLiu, Lynx, and a flex unit. Blade and JingLiu have fantastic synergy together, as JingLiu's HP consumption through her allies will not only increase her own attack, but it will also trigger a stack for Blade's talent. Another great thing about Blade's own HP consumption is that it will trigger the effect of JingLiu's signature Lightcone, giving the wearer a stack to the damage percent boost. Lynx is there as a solo sustain unit for the HP consumption and can utilize her skill to have enemies target Blade to trigger his talent more often. The flex spot can be filled with a number of different units, but my personal favorites are Bronya, Pila, and Silverwolf. Since Blade scales primarily off HP, we need to be mindful of attack boosting supports like Asta and Ting Yun. Therefore, it would be ideal to bring a damage percent booster in Bronya with her skill, and a defense shredding unit like Pila with the use of her ultimate, as well as Silverwolf. Now you can make the argument to bring Ting Yun and have her only use her skill on JingLiu, but I like the flexibility that Bronya, Pila, and Silverwolf bring to this team. A second team that I think would work great for JingLiu consists of her as a hyper carry, a mix of Bronya, Ting Yun, Pila, Asta, and Silverwolf as flex support units, and Fu Shan as a solo sustain unit. With this team comp, you can hyper focus on boosting the attack stat of JingLiu, as she is the only true damage dealer on this team. We have talked about the benefits of running Bronya, Ting Yun, Pila, and Silverwolf on a team, while Asta provides their own attack and speed buffing capabilities. Fu Shan is a great solo sustain unit here, as not only can she mitigate damage from enemy attacks on her allies, but she can also provide a much needed crit rate buff to JingLiu. Finally, an F2P team composition that can work for JingLiu would see her working with units like Asta, YANQING, and Natasha. As previously mentioned, Asta will provide attack and speed buffing, while YANQING can provide an attack, crit rate, and crit damage increase through the use of her skill and ultimate. Natasha is there to provide healing for the entire team due to JingLiu's talent, and JingLiu slots in as the main damage dealer for this team. Overall, she is a top tier DPS, whether you use her as a hyper carry or as a sub dual DPS with Blade. She has amazing scalings to support being able to deal enough damage as a solo unit, but for my own personal preference, that synergy between Blade and JingLiu is second to none, and I can't wait to try it out for myself. And with that, this will end our full build and guide video on the Ice Queen herself, JingLiu. If you missed out on Danheng IL or Blade, or if you are in dire need of an Ice DPS, I would highly recommend JingLiu to help boost your account. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if you are planning to pull for JingLiu, and how exactly do you envision building her. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.